There is a silent truth that lives beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the weight of your past, beneath the identity you have carefully constructed and defended for so long. It whispers instead of shouts. It waits instead of demands. And if you become still enough, if you soften your grip on who you think you are, you will hear it say, the more you let go, the more life gives you. Let me ask you something gently but directly. What are you holding on to right now that is holding you back? What memory, what resentment, what fear, what need to control is clenched so tightly in your fist that your hands are no longer open to receive? You see, life cannot place new blessings into closed hands. The universe responds not to force, but to allowance, not to grasping, but to surrender. Imagine you are standing at the edge of the ocean. You scoop up a handful of water and you grip it tightly, determined to keep it. What happens? It slips through your fingers. But if you cup your hands gently, relaxed and open, the water rests there effortlessly. This is how life works. The ego believes that survival depends on holding on. The soul knows that abundance flows to those who trust. You are not here to struggle against the current. You are here to become one with it. The ego says, if I let go, I will lose. The soul says, if you let go, you will be carried, and the ocean does not argue with the wave. The wave may believe it is separate, may believe it must fight for its form and defend its shape, but in truth it has never been separate from the ocean. It rises, it falls, it dissolves, and the ocean remains. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. When you cling to a grievance, you are saying to the universe, I choose pain over peace. When you cling to a failed relationship, you are saying, I trust my fear more than I trust life. When you cling to an identity built from past wounds, you are saying, I am what happened to me, but you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in this moment. The past has no power except the power you give it. It is a memory, a thought, a story, replayed again and again by a mind that believes its survival depends on keeping the wound alive. But what if you simply decided that the story no longer defines you? What if you became like the sky, allowing clouds to pass without trying to rearrange them? The sky does not chase away the storm. It does not cling to the sunshine. It allows, and in allowing, it remains vast, untouched, infinite. You are the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. Let them pass. Letting go is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It takes no courage to defend a grudge. It takes immense courage to release it. It takes no awareness to blame others. It takes profound spiritual maturity to say, I choose peace instead. And when you choose peace, something miraculous occurs. Energy that was once trapped in resentment becomes available for creation. Energy that was once tied to fear becomes available for love. Everything is energy. Every thought you think vibrates. Every emotion you feel sends a signal into the field of infinite possibility. When you hold on to anger, you tune yourself to the frequency of anger. When you hold on to lack, you align with scarcity. But when you let go, when you surrender your need to be right, to be validated, to be in control, you rise to a higher vibration. You align with abundance itself. The ego thrives on comparison. It whispers, look at them. They have more. They are ahead. You are behind. But abundance is not a competition. The sun does not compare itself to the moon. The oak tree does not resent the rose. Each fulfills its purpose without measuring itself against another. When you let go of comparison, you step into your own divine design, and life begins to support you in ways you could not have imagined. Consider the orange. If you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. It could not produce apple juice or grape juice. What comes out is what is inside. When life squeezes you through loss, through betrayal, through uncertainty, what comes out? If anger comes out, it was inside. If fear comes out, it was inside. But here is the liberating truth. You can change what is inside. You can fill yourself with compassion, with trust, with forgiveness. And then when life squeezes you, love will flow. But you cannot fill a cup that is already overflowing with yesterday. Let go of the need to replay conversations that ended years ago. Let go of the imaginary arguments you win in your mind. Let go of the belief that holding on to pain honors your suffering. It does not. It prolongs it. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It is the decision to free yourself from carrying what no longer serves your soul. Ask yourself, who would I be without this story? Who would I be without this resentment? Who would I be without this fear? And feel the spaciousness that arises when you contemplate that question. That spaciousness is your true nature. It is the field of infinite possibility. It is where miracles occur. When you let go, you create space, and nature abhors a vacuum. The space will be filled. But what fills it depends on your intention. Intention is not something you do, it is a force that you align with. It is the invisible energy that organizes the universe. When your intention is peace, you begin to see opportunities where once you saw obstacles. When your intention is love, you attract experiences that reflect love back to you. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. So, who are you being? Are you being the victim of your past, or are you being the creator of your future? Are you being the fearful protector of an ego identity? Or are you being the infinite soul expressing through a human form? The more you let go of who you think you should be, the more you become who you truly are. There is a profound paradox in the spiritual journey. Surrender leads to power. The ego equates surrender with defeat. But surrender is simply the recognition that you are not separate from the intelligence that beats your heart and spins the planets. You do not command your heart to beat. You do not instruct the sun to rise. There is a divine orchestration at work, and you are part of it. When you resist it, you suffer. When you align with it, you flow. Flow does not mean passivity. It means inspired action. It means acting from clarity rather than fear. It means trusting that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you. It means releasing the need to control outcomes and focusing instead on embodying the highest version of yourself. What if the very thing you are clinging to is the very thing blocking your next miracle? What if your insistence on a specific outcome is preventing the universe from delivering something far greater? When you let go of the how, you allow the infinite intelligence of life to surprise you. Look at nature. The tree releases its leaves in autumn without panic. It does not cling to them and say, "Without these leaves, I will not survive." It trusts the cycle. And in that trust, new leaves appear in spring. But imagine if the tree refused to let go, the old leaves would decay and suffocate new growth. This is what happens when you refuse to release old identities, old roles, old pain. You suffocate your own renewal. Let it fall away. Let the labels dissolve. Let the need for approval fade. Let the attachment to outcomes soften. In that softening, you discover something extraordinary. You were never lacking. You were never incomplete. You were simply entangled in illusion. The ego is an illusion of separateness. It tells you that you must defend yourself, compete, prove, achieve, accumulate. It measures worth by external markers. But your worth is not earned. It is inherent. You are a divine being having a human experience, not a human desperately trying to become divine. When you let go of the need to prove yourself, you begin to experience life as a gift rather than a test. You begin to wake up each morning with curiosity instead of anxiety. You begin to see challenges as teachers rather than threats, and something subtle but powerful shifts within you. You move from contraction to expansion. Expansion is your natural state. Joy is your natural state. Love is your natural state. Fear is learned. Scarcity is conditioned. Resentment is practiced. But just as you learn them, you can unlearn them. You can choose again. Choice is your greatest power. In this moment, you can choose to release. In this moment, you can choose to trust. In this moment, you can choose to say, I am not my past. I am not my fear. I am not my limitations. I am infinite possibility expressing itself. And when you say that, not just with words, but with conviction, the universe responds. The more you let go of control, the more you experience synchronicity. The more you let go of fear, the more you experience love. The more you let go of scarcity, the more abundance finds you. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. Abundance is not something you chase. It is something you allow. Peace is not something you earn. It is something you remember. Love is not something you find. It is what you are. Let go of the belief that you must struggle to deserve what you desire. Let go of the belief that suffering is noble. Let go of the identity that says, this is just who I am. You are not fixed. You are fluid. You are not confined. You are expansive. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the presence within you that is aware of these words. That awareness has never been harmed. It has never been diminished. It has simply observed. That awareness is your true self, and it is free. When you live from that awareness, you move through the world lightly. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to control every outcome. You no longer need to cling to every possession or person. You love deeply, but you do not grasp. You engage fully, but you do not attach. And paradoxically, the more lightly you hold life, the more richly it fills your hands. So today, make a sacred decision. Decide that you will release one thing that no longer serves you, one grievance, one fear, one outdated belief. Offer it to the universe. Say, I trust you more than I trust my fear, and watch what unfolds. Because life is not withholding from you, it is waiting for you to open. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not because life was stingy before, but because you were closed. Open now, trust now, release now. You are not losing anything real. You are shedding illusion. You are returning to truth. You are remembering that you are the ocean, not the wave, the sky, not the cloud, the infinite, not the temporary. And in that remembrance, abundance flows. In that remembrance, love multiplies. In that remembrance, you are free. And as you begin to live from this remembrance, something subtle yet undeniable starts to transform within you. You notice that the urgency that once drove your decisions begins to dissolve. The pressure to arrive, to prove, to perform starts to feel foreign, almost unnecessary. You realize that life was never a race to a finish line, it was a dance, and you were meant to feel every step. There is a sacred intelligence woven into the fabric of existence, a quiet harmony guiding all things toward growth. The seed does not strain to become the tree. It does not question whether it is worthy of sunlight. It simply responds to its nature. And you too have a nature, one that is creative, loving, expansive. But when you resist your own unfolding, when you cling to rigid expectations of how your life must look, you interfere with that intelligence. Surrender is not giving up on your dreams. It is releasing the illusion that you must force them into form. It is trusting that the same wisdom that shapes galaxies also shapes your path. When you allow this trust to settle into your bones, you move differently. You speak more gently. You listen more deeply. You act not from anxiety, but from alignment. Consider how much energy has been spent trying to manage the opinions of others. How often have you edited yourself to be accepted? How many times have you silenced your truth to avoid disapproval? The need for validation is a heavy garment, and it was never tailored to fit your soul. When you remove it, you feel lighter, more authentic, more at ease in your own presence. The approval you seek outside is a reflection of a deeper longing, the longing to accept yourself fully. And self-acceptance does not come from achievement. It comes from awareness. It comes from recognizing that your essence is untouched by mistakes, untouched by judgment, untouched by comparison. Beneath every role you have played is a being of immeasurable worth. When you release the demand to be understood by everyone, you free yourself to understand yourself. When you stop seeking agreement, you begin to embody integrity. And integrity is a magnetic force. It draws to you experiences and relationships that resonate with your truth. Life responds to authenticity. When you no longer chase what is not meant for you, you create room for what is. Opportunities begin to appear in unexpected ways. Conversations unfold that feel divinely timed. Doors open that you did not even know existed. This is not coincidence. It is coherence. It is the natural result of being in harmony with your own spirit. And harmony requires stillness. In the quiet moments, when the world is not demanding your attention, you can feel the gentle guidance within. It does not shout instructions. It offers impressions, nudges, subtle inclinations. The soul speaks in whispers, but if your mind is crowded with fear and attachment, you will miss its voice. Let go of the noise. Release the compulsion to fill every silence. Allow space between your thoughts. In that space, insight emerges. Clarity arises. You begin to sense which actions feel expansive and which feel contracted. Follow what expands you. That expansion is the language of your higher self. There is a profound difference between effort and struggle. Effort is aligned with purpose. It feels energized, meaningful, alive. Struggle is rooted in resistance. It feels heavy, draining, forced. When you let go of resistance, effort becomes joyful. You work not to prove your worth, but to express it. Expression is the natural overflow of a soul at peace. And when you live as an expression rather than a performer, you stop measuring your value by outcomes. Success and failure lose their grip. You begin to see every experience as part of a larger tapestry. Even what once seemed like loss reveals itself as redirection. Even what felt like rejection becomes protection. Trust this unfolding. There are moments when life will ask you to release something you deeply cherish, a role, a relationship, a vision you held dear. In those moments, fear may arise, but beneath the fear is an invitation to expand beyond what you thought was possible, an invitation to step into a new dimension of yourself. Growth often requires emptiness before renewal. Do not rush to fill the emptiness. Sit with it. Let it teach you. Within that space, you discover resilience you did not know you possessed. You discover that your identity is not tied to any external circumstance. You discover that you are capable of beginning again. Beginning again is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of courage. Every sunrise is a reminder that endings are illusions. The sun appears to set, but it is merely shifting perspective. What you call an ending is often a transformation beyond your current understanding. When you release your attachment to a particular form, you allow the essence of what you love to reappear in new and surprising ways. The heart that lets go does not become empty, it becomes spacious. And in that spaciousness, compassion deepens. You begin to see others not as adversaries, but as fellow travelers navigating their own lessons. Judgment softens, empathy grows. You recognize that everyone is doing the best they can with the awareness they have. This recognition does not excuse harmful behavior, but it frees you from carrying bitterness. Compassion is liberation. When you view life through the lens of compassion, you no longer take everything personally. You understand that others' actions are reflections of their inner state, not a measure of your worth. This understanding dissolves unnecessary conflict. It protects your peace. Peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of centered awareness. As you cultivate this awareness, you notice that your reactions change. Where you once reacted impulsively, you now respond consciously. Where you once felt threatened, you now feel curious. You begin to ask, what is this moment teaching me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? This shift in questioning transforms your reality. The mind that seeks blame remains trapped. The mind that seeks understanding evolves. When you approach life as a student rather than a victim, every experience becomes valuable. Even discomfort becomes a guide, pointing you toward areas that need healing or growth. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about integrating it with wisdom. You do not need to pretend that pain did not occur. You need only release the identity built around it. You can honor your journey without being defined by its hardships. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are evidence of survival. But survival is not the final destination. Thriving is. Thriving begins when you stop resisting who you are becoming. There is a version of you emerging right now, more aligned, more intuitive, more at ease. This version is not striving to be superior. It is simply aligned with truth, and truth feels expansive. It feels like coming home after a long journey. Home is not a place. It is a state of being. When you are at home within yourself, you do not fear change. You welcome it. You understand that life is movement, and you are part of that movement. You stop trying to anchor yourself to certainty, and instead anchor yourself to awareness. Awareness is unshakable. Circumstances will shift. People will come and go. Roles will evolve. But the awareness that observes it all remains constant. When you identify with that awareness, you experience freedom, even in the midst of transition. Freedom is not the ability to control everything. It is the ability to remain centered no matter what unfolds. And from this center, generosity flows naturally. You give not to receive, but because giving is an expression of abundance. You share your time, your kindness, your creativity, without fear of depletion. Why? Because you understand that the source of what you give is infinite. When you give from fullness, you receive without asking. Life mirrors your internal state. If you feel whole, you see wholeness. If you feel grateful, you encounter reasons for gratitude. Gratitude itself is a form of letting go of complaint, letting go of entitlement, letting go of the belief that something is missing. Nothing essential is missing. You may desire more growth, more connection, more joy, and that desire is natural. But it need not arise from deficiency. It can arise from inspiration. There is a difference between wanting because you feel incomplete and wanting because you are excited to expand. Expansion fueled by joy feels effortless. As you continue this journey of release, remember that letting go is not a single event. It is a practice. Some days it will feel natural. Other days it will require courage. Be gentle with yourself. Transformation is not linear. It spirals, revisits, deepens. Each time you release, you rise. Each time you trust, you strengthen your connection to the unseen support that surrounds you. You are not navigating this life alone. There is a field of intelligence responding to your every intention. Align your intention with love, with truth, with peace, and watch how reality rearranges itself. You are a co-creator, not through force, but through frequency. Not through domination, but through alignment. The more you align with your highest self, the more life reflects that alignment back to you. And so you continue, lighter than before, softer yet stronger, surrendered yet empowered. You walk forward, not clutching, but open, not fearing, but trusting, not demanding, but allowing. And in that allowing, life pours into you with a generosity that once seemed unimaginable. Because you finally understand it was never about holding on. It was always about becoming free enough to receive. And so you stand here now, not as someone who has conquered life, but as someone who has softened into it. The armor has fallen away. The tight grip has loosened. The restless striving has quieted into a gentle trust. You no longer ask life to bend to your will. You ask only to be aligned with its wisdom. Feel the spaciousness within you. There was a time when you believed that safety came from control, that love required possession, that success demanded strain. But now you see more clearly. The river does not force its way to the sea. It flows, because flowing is its nature. And you too have a nature, a divine rhythm that moves you toward growth, toward connection, toward joy. When you stop resisting that rhythm, you discover that you have always been supported. Nothing real can be taken from you. Nothing essential can be withheld. What falls away was never your foundation. What remains is unshakable. You are not defined by what you accumulate. You are revealed by what you release. Each surrender has made you lighter. Each act of forgiveness has made you stronger. Each moment of trust has expanded your capacity to receive. And now you understand in the deepest part of your being that life is not something to conquer, it is something to commune with. Breathe into that knowing. You are not here to cling. You are here to create. You are not here to defend a fragile identity. You are here to remember your infinite nature. When you loosen your hold on fear, love rushes in. When you relinquish your attachment to outcomes, miracles find space to enter. When you surrender the illusion of separateness, you experience unity with all that is. And in that unity, there is no lack. There is only unfolding. There is only becoming. There is only the quiet, radiant truth that as you release what you are not, you awaken fully to what you have always been, whole, guided, abundant, and free. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not because life has changed, but because you have. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Not the shallow breath of urgency, not the hurried breath of someone chasing approval, but the slow, eternal breath of the ocean, the same breath that moved through you when you were a child, before the world told you who you were supposed to be. You began with a spark, before there were distractions, before there were deadlines, before there was comparison, before there was doubt. There was only intention. And intention is not a wish. It is not ambition. It is not force. Intention is the invisible field of energy that creates worlds. It is the silent ocean beneath every wave. And when you started your journey, whatever that journey may be, it was not the ego that moved you. It was that field. It was that ocean. It was something within you that whispered, "This is who you are." But somewhere along the way, the noise grew louder than the whisper. Distraction is not merely losing focus. Distraction is forgetting your essence. The ego loves distraction. The ego thrives on comparison. It feeds on urgency, on competition, on the illusion that there is not enough time, not enough success, not enough recognition to go around. It tells you that your worth is determined by applause. It insists that your pace must match the pace of others. It convinces you that your journey is a race, and so you begin to look sideways instead of inward. You forget why you started. When you first began, it was not about being better than anyone. It was not about proving anything. It was not about winning. It was about alignment. It was about joy. It was about the quiet thrill of expressing what your soul already knew. The ego says, look at them. The soul says, look within. The ego says, hurry. The soul says, trust. The ego says, you are behind. The soul says, you are exactly where you need to be. You see, distraction pulls you into time. Intention anchors you in eternity. Think of the sky. Clouds pass through it constantly. Storms gather, winds howl, lightning flashes. But the sky itself is untouched. It does not chase the clouds. It does not argue with the storm. It does not identify as the thunder. You are the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. Your fears are the storms. Your distractions are the winds. But the essence of who you are, the divine spark, the eternal consciousness, remains vast, spacious, untouched. When you become distracted, you mistake the clouds for yourself. You believe the storm is your identity. You cling to the winds as though they define you. And in that moment, you forget your infinite nature. Remember why you started. You started because something inside you could not remain silent. Something inside you knew there was more. Not more money, not more validation, more aliveness, more authenticity, more alignment with the energy that created you. You started because you felt called. And calling does not come from ego. It comes from source. Imagine holding an orange in your hand. If you squeeze it, what comes out? Orange juice. Why? Because that is what is inside. If you are squeezed by criticism and anger comes out, it is because anger was inside. If you are squeezed by delay and doubt comes out, it is because doubt was inside. Distraction is the squeeze. Life will squeeze you. People will question you. Results will take longer than you expected. Plans will unravel. But what comes out of you reveals what is within you. This is not a moment for shame. This is a moment for awareness. What is inside you? If you began with passion and now you feel resentment, ask yourself, when did you allow comparison to enter? When did you allow fear to replace faith? When did you trade inspiration for validation? The ego distracts you with numbers, timelines, and opinions. The soul invites you back to intention. Intention is not about achieving something in the future. It is about embodying something now. If you started to serve, then serve now. If you started to create, then create now. If you started to heal, then heal now. Do not wait for the outcome to justify the process. The ocean does not ask permission to wave. The sun does not compete to shine. The flower does not rush to bloom. It unfolds because that is its nature. And you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to express your nature. When you become distracted, you are not failing, you are forgetting. And forgetting is human, but remembering is divine. Remember the moment you said, I will begin. There was courage in that moment. There was innocence in that moment. There was trust in that moment. You did not know how it would unfold. You only knew that you could not ignore the inner voice any longer. That voice has not disappeared. It has only been drowned out by noise. So be still. Stillness is not laziness. It is power. It is alignment. It is the space where intention speaks again. Ask yourself, if no one were watching, would I still do this? If no one were applauding, would I still feel called? If there were no comparison, no competition, no timeline, would I still begin? If the answer is yes, then you are not lost. You are simply distracted. And distraction is cured not by force, but by remembrance. You are not your productivity. You are not your metrics. You are not your reputation. You are not your setbacks. You are consciousness experiencing creation. The ego says, what will I get? The soul says, what will I give? When you shift from getting to giving, distraction dissolves. Because giving is timeless. Giving is infinite. Giving is aligned with the very nature of the universe. The universe does not withhold the sunrise. It does not ration the air. It does not compete for space. It expands endlessly. It gives endlessly. And you are made of that same expanding energy. So when you feel scattered, return to expansion. When you feel behind, return to presence. When you feel doubt, return to intention. Remember why you started. Perhaps you started because you wanted freedom, but freedom is not found in outcomes. It is found in detachment. It is found in releasing the need to control how, when, and by whom you are recognized. The ego demands recognition. The soul seeks expression. There is a profound difference. Expression is enough. It is complete in itself. When a child paints, the joy is in the painting, not in the praise. When you began, you were that child. What happened? You began to look for applause. You began to measure. You began to compare. And comparison is the thief of intention. You do not have to be the best. You only have to be aligned. Alignment feels like peace. Alignment feels like clarity. Alignment feels like quiet confidence. It does not shout. It does not rush. It does not panic. It simply knows. The soul always knows. And when you reconnect to that knowing, distraction loses its power. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean. Waves crash, winds blow, voices call out behind you. But when you step into the water, when you dive beneath the surface, there is silence, there is depth, there is stillness. That stillness is within you. You do not need to escape your life to find it. You only need to release your identification with the noise. You are not here to be busy. You are here to be conscious. When you act from consciousness, every step is meaningful. When you act from ego, every step feels urgent. Ask yourself gently, am I moving from fear or from love? Fear distracts. Love directs. Fear says, what if I fail? Love says, what if I serve? Fear says, what if I'm not enough? Love says, I am already whole. You began because you felt love. Love for your craft, love for your growth, love for your vision. Return to that love. Say quietly to yourself, I am not in competition. I am in creation. I am not behind. I am unfolding. I am not lost. I am remembering. The moment you remember, your energy shifts. And everything is energy. You cannot create abundance from a state of scarcity. You cannot create clarity from a state of chaos. You cannot create impact from a state of ego. Shift your inner state, and the outer world rearranges itself. This is not magic. This is law. When you align with intention, you attract synchronicity. When you release control, you experience flow. When you detach from outcome, you experience freedom. Stop being distracted by what does not align with your soul. Stop being distracted by opinions that do not resonate with your truth. Stop being distracted by timelines that were never yours to begin with. Your journey is not linear. It is spiral. You revisit lessons at deeper levels. You refine. You expand. You evolve. And sometimes you forget. But forgetting is not failure. It is part of the human experience. The invitation is always to return. Return to presence. Return to purpose. Return to peace. Remember why you started. You started because something within you refused to stay asleep, and that something is still awake. Let the ego tire itself out. Let comparison fade. Let urgency soften. Stand in your beingness. You are not the wave fighting for space. You are the ocean itself. You are not the cloud seeking attention. You are the sky that holds it all. You are not the squeezed orange reacting to pressure. You are the consciousness choosing what to contain. Choose faith. Choose alignment. Choose to remember. And as you remember, you will feel a quiet fire reignite within you, not the frantic fire of proving, but the steady flame of purpose. That flame does not flicker in the wind of distraction. It burns from within. And when you live from that flame, you do not need motivation. You become it. You do not chase inspiration. You embody it. You do not seek validation. You radiate certainty. This is your awakening, not a dramatic moment, not a sudden explosion, but a gentle return to truth. Stop being distracted. Remember why you started and begin again, not from ego, not from fear, not from scarcity, but from intention, from love, from the infinite, unshakable, knowing that you are already whole, already guided, already connected to the same intelligence that spins galaxies and beats your heart. Be still. Listen. Remember. And move forward, not because you must prove something, but because it is your nature to express the divine energy that you are. That is why you started, and that is why you will continue. And as you continue forward now, feel the difference in your energy. Notice how the frantic pulse begins to slow. Notice how the desperate need to get somewhere softens into the quiet realization that you are already here. This is the great illusion the ego casts upon the mind, that fulfillment is always somewhere else, that peace will arrive when something external aligns, that satisfaction waits at the finish line. But there is no finish line. There is only this breath. There is only this step. There is only this eternal unfolding of consciousness through you. When you first began, you were not chasing a finish line. You were responding to an inner nudge. It was subtle, almost sacred. It felt less like ambition and more like recognition, as if your soul whispered, "This is the direction of your expansion," and you trusted it. Now ask yourself gently, when did you stop trusting? Was it when someone doubted you? Was it when progress slowed? Was it when the applause didn't match your effort? The ego is clever. It waits for a moment of vulnerability and then plants a seed. Maybe you were wrong. Maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe you should choose something safer. But the soul does not speak in maybes. The soul speaks in knowing. It does not argue. It does not justify. It simply remains steady, like the North Star in a cloudy sky. You may not always see it, but it is always there, guiding quietly. Distraction is the cloud cover. Remembrance is the clearing. There is a powerful truth that few people are willing to confront. The distractions in your life are not random. They are invitations. They reveal where you are still seeking approval, where you are still attached to outcome, where you are still operating from scarcity. Scarcity says, if I don't move faster, I'll lose my chance. Scarcity says, if someone else succeeds, there's less for me. Scarcity says, if this doesn't work soon, it means I failed. But abundance whispers something radically different. Abundance says, what is meant for me cannot miss me. Abundance says, there is no competition in divine expression. Abundance says, I trust the timing of my life. Everything is energy, and the energy of scarcity constricts. It tightens the chest. It narrows perception. It amplifies comparison. It makes you scroll, search, analyze, and obsess. It keeps you in motion, but not in alignment. Abundance expands. It breathes. It creates from inspiration rather than desperation. You cannot create something sacred from a frantic state. You cannot hear the guidance of your soul while constantly consuming the noise of the world. This is why stillness is not optional, it is essential. Imagine a lake disturbed by constant wind. Its surface is chaotic, fragmented, distorted. It cannot reflect the sky clearly. But when the wind calms, the surface becomes mirror-like. The sky is reflected perfectly. Your mind is that lake. Distraction is the wind. When you are constantly reacting to notifications, to opinions, to metrics, to other people's timelines, your inner lake never settles. And without stillness, you lose reflection. You lose clarity. You lose the ability to see your own divinity. You started because you felt called to reflect something beautiful into this world, a vision, a service, a truth. But you cannot reflect clearly from a disturbed surface. So the invitation is not to push harder. It is to quiet deeper. The ego believes that success requires strain, but the universe operates through harmony. Look at nature. The tree does not strain to grow. It does not wake up anxious about how tall it should be by next week. It simply reaches toward the light, steadily, faithfully, season after season. You are no different. You are not here to force growth. You are here to allow it. And allowing requires trust. Trust is not passive. Trust is active alignment with the unseen. It is the willingness to move forward without needing constant reassurance. It is the courage to continue even when results are invisible. Remember why you started. You did not start because it was guaranteed. You started because it felt true. Truth does not require validation. Truth does not panic when unseen. Truth remains. If you are feeling weary, it is not because your path is wrong. It is because you have been trying to carry it with your ego instead of your spirit. The ego exhausts itself trying to control every variable. The spirit rests in knowing that it is co-creating with something infinitely intelligent. When you surrender control, you do not lose power. You regain it. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving over to the wisdom that beats your heart without your permission, that breathes your lungs without your instruction, that orchestrates the rising of the sun without your involvement. That same intelligence flows through your vision. You are not alone in this. You never were. The moment you align with intention again, you feel it, a subtle shift, like stepping onto solid ground after drifting at sea. The anxiety lessens, the comparison quiets, the urgency dissolves. There is a renewed sense of clarity, not because everything is solved, but because you are centered. Center is everything. From center, you act without force. From center, you create without fear. From center, you move without distraction. And when distractions appear, as they inevitably will, you no longer identify with them, you observe them. You smile at them. You say, there is the ego again, asking me to hurry, asking me to compare, asking me to doubt. And then you return. Return to breath. Return to intention. Return to the quiet flame inside you. The world will always offer noise. That is its nature. But you are not obligated to consume it. You are not obligated to react to it. You are not obligated to internalize it. You are here to embody something higher. Say to yourself now with conviction and calm, I am not here to compete. I am here to contribute. Feel how different that feels in your body. Contribution is expansive. Competition is constricting. Contribution aligns you with service. Competition traps you in ego. When you remember why you started, you reconnect to contribution. You remember that your journey is not about proving worth. It is about expressing it. And worth does not fluctuate with results. Worth is intrinsic. Worth is divine. You are not trying to become enough. You began because you already were. This is the profound paradox the ego cannot grasp. You do not start to become worthy. You start because you are worthy of expression. So if the path feels heavy, release what is not yours to carry. Release the timeline. Release the need for universal approval. Release the belief that struggle equals value. The universe is not measuring your suffering. It is responding to your vibration. Shift your vibration from pressure to peace. Shift your vibration from doubt to devotion. Shift your vibration from distraction to devotion. Devotion is powerful. Devotion means you show up not because it is convenient, not because it is trending, not because it is applauded, but because it is aligned. Aligned action does not burn you out. Misaligned striving does. Listen closely. If you are exhausted, it may not be from doing too much. It may be from trying to be someone you are not. The ego is a costume. It is loud, dramatic, defensive. It wants credit. It fears invisibility. It thrives on urgency. But your soul is simple. It is steady. It does not shout for recognition. It simply radiates. You do not have to amplify your ego to succeed. You have to amplify your authenticity. Authenticity requires presence, and presence requires freedom from distraction. So once more, return to the question, not with pressure, but with curiosity. Why did I start? Feel into it. Not the strategic answer, not the logical answer, the soulful one. Was it freedom? Was it expression? Was it healing? Was it impact? Was it love? That original spark still exists. It may be buried under expectations, but it has not died. It cannot die because it is not an idea. It is energy. And energy cannot be destroyed. It only transforms. Allow it to transform you again. Let this be your recommitment, not to hustle, not to force, not to chase, but to align. And as you align, you will notice something miraculous. The distractions lose their grip. The need to compare fades. The anxiety around timing softens. You begin to trust that every step, even the slow ones, are part of a greater orchestration. You are not behind. You are becoming, and becoming is not rushed. So breathe once more. Stand firmly in your being. Release the noise. Remember why you started, and walk forward, not with tension in your shoulders, but with peace in your heart, knowing that the same infinite intelligence that inspired your first step is guiding every step that follows. You are supported. You are aligned. You are awake. Now continue, not distracted, not desperate, but devoted, intentional, and free. And as you walk this path with renewed devotion, something subtle begins to transform within you, not outside, not in the circumstances, but in the seat of awareness itself. You begin to notice that the need to constantly check, to measure, to confirm your progress starts to loosen its grip. There is a spaciousness emerging, a sacred pause between impulse and action. And in that pause, you rediscover power. The world trains you to react. Spirit invites you to respond. Reaction is mechanical. It is conditioned. It is the echo of past programming. But response is conscious. It arises from presence. It is born from the deep well of your inner knowing. When you remember why you started, you no longer react to every opinion or shift in external conditions. You respond